Language is constantly evolving, shifting with the times and adapting to constantly changing culture. Nowhere is this more evident than in the world of slang. Slang is the ever-changing collection of words and phrases that color our everyday interactions. It's found in every corner of the globe, from bustling cities to quiet villages, and it reflects our culture, identity, and creativity. Tracing all the way back to ancient Rome, we begin to see prime examples of where slang originally emerged. Much of Roman slang came from social settings and professions. In the bustling markets, traders and merchants used specialized jargon to discuss prices, goods, and transactions. In the military, Roman soldiers developed their own terms and phrases to describe their experiences, challenges, and camaraderie. In many taverns and public baths, citizens often used slang as a way to exchange gossip and humor, usually in a witty or playful way. Later on, in the 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution era in England, the streets of London became more diverse with a growing number of different cultures and languages. This resulted in the growth of new words and phrases as these people of many different backgrounds came together. Pubs and music halls were hotspots for the exchange of slang. People would gather to drink, sing, and share stories, often with the use of new slang terms, helping spread the use of slang in London. Street vendors were particularly notable in shaping London slang with their catchy cries and inventive language that made transactions more engaging and memorable. Even the criminals used their own forms of slang, known as thieves' cant. It allowed criminals to communicate under the radar of the authorities. Many of these terms even became mainstreamed in the London streets, only adding to their already vast slang landscape.
Now, fast forward even more, say 200 years, you're in the 2000s, and now we're having an age of new communication, new technology. It's spreading and it's all over the place, and it's become super accessible to anybody to really use it and come up with any slang they want. So, in this new era, we have social media, and that's spreading like a wildfire. We have people coming up with new slang, not only to make it easier to communicate, but also to just make themselves look more cool. They want to be popular. So they use these platforms such as Snapchat, Instagram, TikTok to make themselves more appealing to, say, their friends or even their family. And then slang, it became not only a way to like make yourself appealing, but easier to communicate.
Probably more with my friends, maybe something more dialect specific with family. My family is very southern, so they have specific words for that region, but other than that, mostly friends.
I'd say that I use slang with pretty much anyone I play video games with, my friends at school, uh, but I don't use it around my parents or people that I need to be formal with.
Mostly my friends. Otherwise, it's like anything other than that is too formal to use slang, so I just don't.
I was born with it, man. I was born with that slang game.
I don't normally use it.
I used to mainly around my friends and my sister, not my parents, because they wouldn't understand that stuff.
We're a little looser with our language. Just I don't know if it's just like a regional thing, growing up somewhere else, but not around my own kids and everything. But like definitely my friends. Even still, when I get around them now, we start doing that.
Definitely, things were very different back when I was in middle school than now.
Probably a little. I think it's one of the good things about being a teacher because I can see how like students use it, so I'm sort of able to watch the evolution of it. But it actually makes me start to feel a little bit old because now it's getting to the point where I don't understand. Like I don't know what that means. So, but yeah, I've definitely seen it change quite a bit.
Really, people say stuff, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Language and I guess slang in connection changes over time all the time. I would say it's a style for the most part. However, to an extent, it can save time.
I mean, maybe a little bit of both, but I think it can make it easier to communicate sometimes if it's used like because I guess when I think of slang, like there's different ways of like thinking of the definition of it because it can also be like really bad. But depending on how you're using it and I think it can make it a little easier to communicate, especially with people you know. It would be weird if you like started doing it with someone you didn't know all that well, and you were just like dropping all this slang. They'd be like, "Who is this person?"
Mostly to communicate easier because it's easier to get my point across when I'm not trying to be like really formal, and I can be kind of like more casual with them, and so it kind of gets my point across faster.
Man, slang is about life, man. It's about style, but it be making my words here easier. Like if I'm gonna say, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go to so and so. I'm gonna say I'm gonna pull up.
I'll say it's more of a style, especially the people I surround myself with.
I like to shorten a lot of my words, so like and like combine them. So like you all, I shorten to y'all, and then I kind of when I'm texting through my thing, I like to use like combine a lot of words, and so that's mainly where I use my slang.
Sigma, Baki, Riz, all this.
So a lot of words I usually I use like bet, cap, y'all, or like off the internet type, type.
I say merch a lot, which is basically like for real, and I think it's like Florida slang because I haven't heard it anywhere else. And like another one I would say is like goon, which is basically like you're calling someone a goon because they're like stupid or like really weird. And yeah, that's like the terminology for it, and that's kind of like a national thing, less than I wouldn't say worldwide because I haven't seen anybody foreign saying that, but in America I see that a lot.
Most of the slang that I use with my friends from the internet, but a lot of it from my family as well.
I think I learned it back in 8th grade and used it more into 9th grade.
I was born with it, man. I was born with that slang gang.
I think probably mostly movies and television, and then from like probably my friends too, especially as they started getting a little bit older. I would say.
We made it.
I learned slang from video games, Fortnite. I learned it from my older brother, and just the people I hang around with. These things age on.
Probably when I was like 12 years old, I think. That's when I really got access to the internet and people around me started also being very online.
Now, maybe 200 years ago, your ethnicity or race would have depicted what slang you use or what diction or what style you tried to use. But now, in this modern era, people say that it's not their ethnicity, it's not their race that depicts what slang they use. It's more who they've grown up with or what they've learned. I mean, communities can unite through slang and maybe regional, but not ethnical or not racial and by any means, especially with you see video games very popular. People use their own jargon, their own slang to really maybe get some anger out at some people. But other than that, you can see that no matter what race you are or what gender you are, it doesn't matter because slang, we all understand it, especially if we've grown up with that.
I said only a little bit because if you're white, your parents most likely. I mean, it really depends on the parents more than the race, but they might have an effect on how you view things and how much respect, like the scale of how much you can respect another person compared to how much you can be rude.
People usually just try and say what we say, but yeah, for the top alphas.
Definitely not. Slang is generally popularized by the internet most of the time.
I mean, my ethnicity really don't got to do with slang because you can be white, black, Mexican, or Asian. You could be using the same slang if you gang.
I don't think it would have affected because it's mainly just my outside experience with like friends and social media.
Overall, slang is an ever-changing language that has continued throughout human history. It has changed from mouth to mouth and from generation to generation, whether it was on merchant communication in Rome, industrial talk in England, or throughout social media sites like TikTok. Slang will continue to exist as a way to bond people and communities for generations to come.
Yeah, I see people slang change all the time, man. That change of slang it's like the slang game is changing, and you know the slang be ranging and changing. I can't even get to paging the slang.